All right, and welcome to today's chart review. It is the 10th, and today we had CPI. We had some news today. We had CPI. Oh, it's not going to load. Oh, we had CPI, and then we had bond auction, which bond auction actually caused a decent sized reaction. And then we had FOMC meeting minutes. Today I hopped off my charts around like 1:15. Like I didn't even look at the rest of the charts, and we'll go. I wouldn't even bother to look at the charts after this happened, and we'll go over why, and we'll go over why I was looking at what I was looking, and yeah, let's get right into it. So let me pull up Discord again. Okay, so if we look at the charts here, if we look at ES when we came into the day, and my bias going into today was pretty bearish, but well, of course here I was bearish, but once we had the CPI, if we look at CPI, like look at what CPI did. We had this huge wick where this is just a manipulation leg. We have a huge manipulation move, and then we dump. We had a huge dump, and honestly, anytime I see a dump like this, a move like this, especially pre-market off of a news event, and notice what we did. We took sell side here. We took all these stack lows we had here. If we look to the 4-hour, I'm bearish. I want to see sell side of the curve get delivered. I want to see these lows be the draw on ES. That's my draw on liquidity on the higher time frame. So in this already existing market maker sell model, if we see a market maker sell model, I'm expecting the draw to be these lows at least. If we look in that already existing sell model, we have another already existing market maker buy and sell model. So we have buy side of the curve here and then sell side of the curve here in a market maker buy and sell model. So this would be a good setup, but it was a news event. Like there's nothing you can really do. I mean, if you trade this, there's no reason to trade news. That's just gambling. You should not trade news. I wouldn't recommend it. I mean, if you have a strategy for it, but like there's no reason to trade this. So once we have this big manipulation move, and notice what we're doing, we're stopping out all these traders. Had we like manipulated at the lows and they got a rally to the upside, I would have been bullish and maybe possibly seen a draw on this high, but we end up just dumping off at open. Or not at open, but off that CPI. We're taking all of these stops up here and then targeting lower. And we have now taken sell side here. So once we have taken this major sell side, once we have completed sell side of the curve here, I'm going to be a little hesitant, especially if we have a big move like this. I'm going to be a little bit hesitant. And if we look at NQ, NQ actually never took these lows. NQ never took these lows. We have stacked lows here, which will be a future target. So NQ or ES took all these lows, but NQ didn't. So technically we do have an SMT, but I'm still expecting the draw to be these lows. And what I want to mark out, what I want to point out is this manipulation leg. This is the manipulation higher, and if you draw your fib from the high to this low, that is your manipulation move. That's your manipulation leg. That's what you want to mark out. If we happen to respect -2 to 2.5, I'm looking for us to retrace back in equilibrium. So we have this big leg here, and I'm looking for us to possibly come back into equilibrium of this price leg. That's really what I'm looking for, because we have this manipulation leg. We're respecting -2 to 2.5. So I'm looking for us to come up into equilibrium. And as well as we just had a huge sell-off, where the market's probably likely going to retrace to, if we retrace to equilibrium. I'm looking for us to come back into equilibrium. Is NQ more money per tick than ES? NQ is $2 per tick. ES is $5 per tick. If you trade the micros, if you trade the minis, it's $20 per tick on NQ and then $50 per tick on ES. So they're less. It's less per tick, but NQ moves a lot faster. NQ moves a lot faster. So, or it doesn't move a lot faster, but it's a lot larger. So there's gonna be more ticks within a move. So I'm looking for a retracement to equilibrium. That's kind of my bias. We also we have a 4-hour inverse fair value gap. Notice how well this 4-hour fair value gap was holding up. This 4-hour fair value gap was holding us up throughout this whole range here. And now we get manipulation at the high. We have broken through this. I'm possibly looking for this to act as resistance. So I want the draw at around open to be this fair value gap, this 4 hour fair value gap, inverse fair value gap, as well as equilibrium of the range. So we don't really get a clean setup in my opinion. So right here, we're so close to taking these lows on NQ. I'm expecting the draw. Well, the draw are these lows. The draw are these lows. But we came so close to taking these lows. I just don't know why we never really took these lows. We just didn't. We don't have to. We didn't. So we are now leaving more liquidity here. My draw is higher. I want to see us come back into equilibrium, come back into maybe this 4 hour inverse for value gap. We also have a 15-minute breaker. It's not the cleanest, but this is a 15-minute breaker. But I don't know if you would count this as the breaker, but it's just not the cleanest. We also have this. But I'm just going to say we have that 4 hour inverse for value gap just for the sake of like what we're looking at. We have this 4 hour fair value gap. We also have a 1 hour fair value gap now. So this could possibly withdraw higher, but it doesn't look super clear in my opinion. So this is where we kind of drop down. Let's look at the 5 minute. Oops. If we look at the 5 minute, we get some displacement higher. I'm looking for equilibrium to be met. I'm really looking for equilibrium. I'm not looking to take anything. I'm not really looking to take anything. Zoom down to 1 minute, we have displacement higher. Could we possibly manipulate at this high and then head lower? Nope. We run through that high. We come back down. And this would be an okay setup to look for prices to come into equilibrium, also come within that 4 hour fair value gap. So as you can see, we have an inverse fair value gap now here lined out. We break above this inverse fair value gap. We also create a fair value gap. We have buy side resting up here. This wouldn't be a bad long, but it's way too scalpy for me, and I just don't like it. You could have your first TP here and then a runner to that 4 hour fair value gap. Stop. You can put your stop here. Put your stop at this low. That's probably what I would do. And we end up holding this inverse fair value gap for quite some time. And then this is when we form an SMT here. I want this to possibly be the soup higher to come up into this 4 hour fair value gap. We obviously chop, still holding this inverse fair value gap. Still holding this inverse fair value gap. I don't really see a setup long here to this 4 hour fair value gap, for 4 hour inverse fair value gap, but we end up going to that 4 hour inverse. And after this, so that 4 hour inverse fair value gap is met. We now come back into that. Hold up. We come back into that, we tick it, and this is then when we start to displace a little bit lower. We create a 5 minute imbalance here. And I'm looking for possibly us to head down to this low. Now we have generated sell side. The draw on the higher time frame is lower, but I still want to see us come back into equilibrium. We never came back into equilibrium. If we pull up ES as well, let's look at ES as well. Let's analyze ES as well. I'm looking for us to come back into equilibrium, but we really never do. We never do. I think that we will in the future. But the reason why I don't like a short here is yes, okay. Yes, look at what price did. Look how inefficient price is. At this time, like, I'm not really looking to take a short because we are back within this 1 hour imbalance. I would feel a lot better if we're taking some form of buy side and then displacing lower through a low, pull back to a fair value gap, then short. But the fact that this is just an imbalance, the fact that this is just a whole imbalance, for me to confidently take a short here, for me to have confidence within a short here, I need to see something like SMT or some form of manipulation in order to validate that we want to go lower. Because there's no high or low within this range. Like, this is strictly just a fair value gap. Unless if we reach equilibrium of this range, unless we come back into equilibrium and we have some form of SMT, I'm going to be a lot more hesitant to take a short here, which is why I think price was just so inefficient today. Look at what price did. We just, for a whole, like, 2.5 hours, 2.5 hours. The reason why we're moving here is because of news. For a whole 2.5 hours, we do nothing. Or we don't do nothing, but we're just very slow, just not concise, not clear action. Like, I want to be on trades when action is clear and I feel confident within that trade. But the reason why I'm not confident with a trade here at all is because we didn't take a higher low here. Like, this is just a big imbalance. I can't really pick and choose a spot where I want us to reverse to. And as on ES, I also have this marked out, this 4-hour inverse for fair value gap. Sorry, I can't speak. Inverse fair value gap marked as well. So I'm not going to force a trade, and I'm not going to force a trade at all unless if it's not something I'm looking for. As you can see here, we could have sell side of the curve here. We come up and we displace lower. We have a 5-minute fair value gap. I really don't like anything. I really don't like anything here. The only thing that I could possibly see, the only thing that I like here is we have this 1-minute fair value gap. We're coming back up. We're within this 1-minute fair value gap. We're retracing back where? To equilibrium of this range. We're also taking stops here. This is the only trade that I like. But to take this trade, I would have to target this low that we have generated here. Excuse me. So we have this retracing back up into equilibrium of this range. We're also coming back into that 1-minute fair value gap. This would be the only short that I like. This would be the only short that I like today. The only trade that I really think was only trade of decent value. You can put your stop at this wick high here and then ride it to this sell side level. That would have been the only trade that I saw. The only trade. Okay. Now we come back down. We're just chopping. We're just chopping. This internal low has been taken. So I'm waiting. I want price to go here. I want price to go here. If you look on ES, it looks a little cleaner at the time. We have a clear prominent low here. But this is just chop, just chop, just chop. And then, boom. This is then when we have that 1 p.m. news. We have 1 p.m. news right here. We end up forming an SMT here. And then we end up dumping and finally taking out these lows. This low here. I don't like this trade either. Like, there's no real trade offered. The reason why we really displaced lower is because of this 1 minute, or because of this SMT and because of the news. Like, I don't really see a trade setup here. I really don't see a trade setup. So we have the SMT and then we dump. And then notice where we bounce here on ES. Notice where we bounce here. I had this marked out. We have this 5-minute fair value gap here. Then we end up taking this low, and now we have an SMT at the lows. So now we have an SMT at the highs and the lows. We come back into that fair value gap. Like, I'm not really looking. So we just had to move lower like this. I'm not looking for immediately shoot right back up. I'm not looking for a trade where we just shoot right back up, because price doesn't normally do that. Price doesn't really normally do that. We don't really just have a move down and then immediately inverse that move straight back to the upside. We don't always do that. So why would I be looking for that to happen? And so I'm expecting the draw to probably be equilibrium. I still want us to head up higher. And now we have an SMT at the highs and we have an SMT at the lows. NQ is failing to take this low. ES has taken the low, and now we're bouncing off of a 5-minute fair value gap. The draw on the higher time frame for me can be these stacked lows we have down here, and also can be equilibrium. So I really don't know. When the market is showing me something like this, to where we have an SMT at the highs and an SMT at the lows, like, I really don't know what to say. I really don't know what to say, and I really think I didn't even analyze any of this price action because we have an SMT at the highs, SMT at the lows. Like, what did price do here? What did price do here? We just ranged back and forth, ranged back and forth. There is not a clear and concise trade. Like, look at this action here. Look at this action here. There is nothing here that I like, and I don't think there's anything here of value. Yeah, I lost all my CPI profits by buying, expecting price to go to equilibrium of the range and overtraded. Hey, bro, I would recommend just find something that you know that repeats. And today, market did not show me anything that I had confidence in. And the key is to have confidence with what you trade and have confidence. And that's what I'm trying to build as a trader. And I think that's the most important thing as a trader, is have confidence. Like, so many people on social media is like I don't think as a trader you should really be on social media. I will say this again and again and again and again and again. And I might say this literally every chart review. But as a trader, I do not think that you should be on social media. Because even me, I just post. I go out there and I create. I don't consume anything. I don't even, quite frankly, I don't really look at any other creators unless if they're my mentor. Those are the only people I listen to. Because I know that so many people have so many opinions and have so many viewpoints on the market that what works for me will not work for the other person. It's all about finding what works for you. And other people are literally going to say so much different things, talking out of their ass, talking behind a screen, when they themselves don't even love themselves, don't even treat themselves with respect. Like, I'm not going to lie. If I have a mentor, bro, that mentor has to love themselves with respect. That I have to know that they're disciplined. I have to know that they're a person that I can actually trust. Bro, I'm not going to come on social media. I'm not going to look at some random person that probably probably woke up on the wrong side of the bed today. Like, they probably didn't do, like, you get what I'm saying, though. Like, social media is toxic. I would not get any of your, trading. Like, people are going to say so much stuff to you. You just got to find out what works for you. That's a key. That's a gem. That's a gem. So, I'm not after this, SMT at the highs, SMT at the lows, like, we literally just, we're range bound. We're range bound. Like, this, there is nothing here. There is nothing here. As soon as I saw an SMT at the high, SMT at the lows, I'm like, hey, the draw on NQ can be all these stacked lows. The draw on NQ can be all these stacked lows, but I'm not going to force anything. I'm not going to force anything at all. I'm not here to force anything. I'm not here to force anything and just try to take a trade. Like, there simply is not really a high quality trade. The only trade that I saw today was this possible short setup to this low. That is the only thing that you could have took that you had conviction with, or me personally that I had conviction with. But what do y'all see? That would have been a good setup. What does the SMT really tell you? SMT tells you that there is a crack in correlation. So NQ and ES, the reason why I use NQ and ES is because they are correlating indices. So therefore, if we have a high here, so okay, let's see. Let me show you. Let me show you why this is an SMT in the first place. Am I on the 1 minute over here? Wait. Okay. So we see on NQ, we have this high right here. And on NQ, we come up and we take this high on NQ, but we fail to take it on ES. So that shows you that ES is weaker, and that shows you that we could have a possible reversal. So SMT just shows you the chance of a possible reversal. They should add sorry, I can't speak. They should add confluence to your already existing bias. It shouldn't make your bias. But when I see this SMT at the high, and then when I see an SMT at the low, like, market, I have no clue what the market's doing right now. I have no clue. Like, there's nothing that I can, like, okay, I could have taken a long here. Like, we all could have sat here and took a long here and be like, oh my gosh, we just made a move. We just caught this big move, but I really don't think that that's repeatable. I really don't think that anyone can come in the market and repeat something like this. And if you have a strategy that works for that, cool. I'm not dissing on it. I'm not hating on it, but once I see SPC at highs, SPC at lows, I am hopping off the charts. It is not even worth it to try to look for opportunity that isn't there. And like, as a trader, you have to know when to simply just step away and when simply the opportunity probably just isn't there. Because there are gonna be times when the opportunity just isn't there and you're just searching for opportunity that isn't there. You're trying to take a trade because you want to make money. But that's pretty much all I saw today. I saw one decent setup. And why do you think we had poor action today? Why do you think we had poor action today? I wanna go over why. Because ES, let's look at this. We just had a, we just had a 400-point move. A 400-point move. If you look at ES has just delivered sell side of this curve. ES has now taken this low. NQ is failing to take that low. So therefore, I'm not looking to take anything here. Anything after this low is taken is just going to be lower probability. And I'm expecting for us to just chop and look exactly what we did today. We just chopped. Today was just not a good day at all, in my opinion. I don't think anything was very high quality, and I'm glad I'm at a point to where I don't have to force a trade. Okay, let's go into my bias going into tomorrow. So if we're looking at this on ES, this looks like we are going to deliver sell side of the curve. On the higher time frame, on the 4-hour time frame, I want us to deliver sell side of the curve. If we look at NQ, I want us to deliver sell side of the curve. I think that this is the low that we are looking to take. Regardless of not, we have a big range right here. Where are all the stops at? We have so many stops resting below here. We have failed to take it here. We pump up, we pump down, and then we almost take the low here. We fail to. We come up, we almost take the low here. We fail to. Like, this is just stacked liquidity. We could see an A+ setup going into tomorrow, going into Friday, but I'm not gonna force it. I'm just saying that we could possibly see that. So notice on NQ that we still have this manipulation move, and we still have. If we look at standard deviation, we have respected -2 to 2.5. I'm still expecting to see equilibrium of this range. I really want to see equilibrium of this range. I want to see us come back up into equilibrium of this range. So right here, we now have all these stacked lows here on NQ. So I want to see something like this going in the overnight session to where we come back up into equilibrium, maybe form something like this, to then get this move lower. This is what ideally I would like to see. We have PPI tomorrow morning at 8:30, so that could cause something. We have PPI at 8:30, so that's something to look out for. And then we have 30-year bond auction at 1. So 30-year bond auction, I think it will probably be volatile. So that's something to look out for. And I think that tomorrow could be decent. But I'm looking for a retracement back up in equilibrium to then have displacement lower to pull back to a higher time frame for value gap to then head lower. Right now, we have just taken external range liquidity on ES. We have just completed this on ES. So I would like to see retracements back up into here, but we could just sell off. On the higher time frame, the draw is lower. We have this huge imbalance. I'm looking for equilibrium to then sell lower. So that's what I'm looking at. That's really what my bias is going into tomorrow. So I really don't like it. I'm just gonna wait and see what the market provides us. All right, options master, you want to come on now? Let's see if I can invite you. Let me see if I can invite you. But how do I invite you to speak? Can you request to speak again? All right, here you go. Hold up. Hello? I can't hear you. I cannot hear you. I heard you earlier though. Oh, now I can. Yeah. Here, let me maybe I have to unshare. Now try. I'd rather not. I'd rather not. I'm sorry, but I'd rather not. Okay, yeah. No, you're good. I would just rather like just keep it just NQ and ES because I think that would be more beneficial, especially for me and our community. Like, I. All right. Yeah. Anyway, sorry about that. Yeah, like I'm saying though, is you do not like coming back to that, like you do not need to be an expert in anything, in everything. You do not need to be an expert in everything. You only need to master one thing. So say I have a business. Say I have a business. Bro, I am much likely to succeed if I dial in and I focus on just one business. But say I have 4 different businesses. I have a business in marketing, I have a business in accounting, I have a business in selling clothes and selling online commerce. So say I have 4 different businesses. I am much more likely to fail if I have 4 businesses rather than I just have one business. And notice how, like, in life as well, your occupation, bro, notice how the people at the highest end, bro, they don't have more than one occupation. Like, anyone that has a job, they have one job. Or mainly, they have one high-paying job. They master that one job. So, I don't diss on anyone that does options or does things. But if you're going to try and be a master at everything, try to master everything, you are less likely to succeed rather than the person that dials in and locks in on one thing and one avenue of life and one business and one model and one thing. One thing. Like, if you have one model, one strict model that you're looking for rather than, oh yeah, I'm just looking for everything. I'm just looking for everything here. You are less likely to succeed if you are looking and constantly trying to switch strategy after strategy, pair after pair. Hey, I'm trading NQ today, and now I'm trading SPX. Now I'm trading options, and that's where I was at. I knew that I probably shouldn't be switching. I've been hearing that you probably shouldn't switch strategies. You probably shouldn't hop around to different strategies, but you do not need to be a master at everything, and don't think that you need to be a master at everything as well. You just need to master one thing. That's all you need. What broker do you recommend? For stocks, I would recommend Webull for stocks, but I do not trade stocks. I used to. Now I trade NQ and ES. Hey, I appreciate it, Latero. Sorry if I butchered that. Trade in your closet with... okay. Yosa, I don't know if this really matters, but we cannot hear whoever is on... okay, yeah. Okay. All right. Anyways, that's all I have for today's session. I think that today was a day when it's cool to not trade. Like, it's cool to not trade, and don't think that like not trading is a bad thing. Don't think that just because you didn't take a trade, it's a bad thing, because like, bro, people can say stuff about like, oh, we're not trading. Like, even if you sit in front of your screen all day. Even if you just sit in front of the screen, you don't place a trade at all. You just see what price does. Okay, journal that now, and now see what price did. So now next time you can see what happens, or next time you now have seen what happens. So now going into the day tomorrow, you now have just seen a whole day. Like, you don't have to trade. You don't have to trade at all. But anyways, that's all I really have for you guys today. We'll be back tomorrow live for tomorrow. Tomorrow we have PPI. Tomorrow I'm excited. Tomorrow's going to be a great day. Tomorrow's going to be a fantastic day. If you know, you know. Anyways, peace out.